Happy Sunday, everybody, and it is going to be a wonderful Sunday because we have lots to do today, and you're going to love it. Now, with football season in full swing, more so in Canada, I suppose, than in the States, although not being a football fan, I guess really I don't know too much what I'm talking about, but we are going to make burgers that are so amazing, so easy to do. You can do them on your barbecue, you can do them in a frying pan, you can do them however you want to do them. And the first thing that we are going to do making these burgers is we are going to make compound butter, and I will show you why. Now, just let me take my fresh herbs that we're going to be adding to our compound butter and dry them. So I have them just soaking here. Make sure we don't have any dust or dirt. Now this is celery out of my garden. And I know that doesn't sound like a herb, but a lot of people use celery salt. So we are going to use celery as a herb. And then this is rosemary out of my garden, which is my very favorite thing to use. So we are just going to give these a bit of a dry. And then I am going to show you what I'm up to. And there we go. Okay, so this is parsley, fresh out of my garden. This is celery out of my garden. And we'll get this all dried off because we don't want water in our compound butter. Now with the celery, we are just going to use the celery leaves and make sure that they don't have any spots on them that have kind of dried off. So celery, it turns out, is not terribly difficult to grow, and I had a beautiful herb garden in front of my window, and every morning I could go out and grab a handful of herbs. Good morning, Mom. I'm always so glad when you join me. So last night was time change in Alberta, and it's a good thing that somebody else remembered that because I didn't, but my husband did, so it's all good. Now these celery leaves, you know, so often you hear about people chopping the ends off the celery and throwing it out, and it is so beautiful and flavorful that you want to save it for soups and stews and burger and whatever it is you're doing. Now, the other thing that I'm going to add is a little bit of marjoram out of my garden. And we are just going to chop these until they are chopped really fine. Now, this is one of those times, whatever type of butter you buy to bake with or do whatever with is fine. But when you are making a compound butter, please splurge. Buy a really nice butter with good flavor, because having that good butter with good flavor is going to make all the difference in your compound butter. Okay. Now this can be chopped as fine or as coarse as you like, but the finer it's chopped, the more these herbs are going to, got a little bit more here than we need, the more these herbs are going to release their flavor into the butter. Now just let me get a bowl out here for our butter. And we are going to put 1 stick of butter in here. So 112 grams is a stick of butter. 112 grams-ish. Now this is, and this is a Canadian thing, this is Lactantia butter with sea salt. And whatever kind of butter you would like to use is just fine. And you want to make sure that it's soft. Don't take it out of the fridge and try and do this. You're just going to wreck your elbow. Make sure we get all of the goodness off this paper. Okay, now this is feeling a little bit stiff, so we are just going to pop this in the microwave literally for about 7 seconds-ish. So if your house is not terribly warm, you want to make sure that you've softened your butter another way. And my house is not terribly warm. So, and that is enough right there. Now, as much as this was a little bit hard a minute ago, it is nice and soft now. So we're going to add this tablespoon of parsley, or you can put 2 or 3 tablespoons in. If you don't have fresh parsley, that's fine. You can use TSL Organics dried parsley. Now, TSL does not have dried celery leaves, but it does have, you got to watch for these. When you're picking things out of your garden, just got bruised a little bit. So we'll set that one off to the side. And we're just going to chop up some of this celery leaf to put in there for some added flavor. Now in this batch, I am not going to add the rosemary. And the reason that I am not going to add it is because I made a batch last night for today that does have rosemary in it. Not everybody likes rosemary. Rosemary is one of those things where either you love it or you hate it. And if, I don't know whether you noticed or not, but I took these leaves and I rolled them up before I started chopping them. That is called a chiffonade if you do it right. Mine was kind of a rough one. Okay, so I know I said we're making burgers, but we're going to make burgers with butter in it. And I know that sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but we're going to do it and it's going to work, and I promise you when you try this you are going to love it. Okay, this is chopped up enough. I think I don't mind my celery leaves being a little more coarse, especially for something like this. Well, not especially, but I guess something like this I want them a little finer. But this is going to be just perfect. And we've got about a tablespoon of chopped celery leaf. Now the rest of these fresh herbs I will use later. We'll add that to the butter. We're going to add a little bit of the dried marjoram, also fresh out of the garden, and this beautiful sprig of rosemary will be used in my world later today, but it is not going to be used right this second. Okay, so now we have this done. What do we do next? Now we're not adding anything else to the butter except these herbs. And you can put this in the fridge and you can use it for everything. Are you making some keto bread and you want something delicious to put on it? There you go. This has got so much flavor and you will absolutely be wanting this on everything. If you're cooking a steak, you know, when you finish your steak and you're letting it rest, add this on top of it. If you're making the keto mashed potatoes that we made a couple of weeks ago, this is wonderful on top of it. Okay, now you want to really make sure that this is mashed in really well so you don't have big lumps of butter with no herb in it. That's not what we're trying to accomplish here. And then a piece of wax paper, or this is just not gonna rip. Okay, so we will do it this way. One way or the other, I'm gonna get my way. There we go. That is not a very nice piece of plastic wrap. You know, the Glad Stretch and Seal, I absolutely love it, but I do not love the way they put the cutter on the box, because it rarely works, and if it does work, it only works for a minute and then it falls off. Okay, now we're going to put this in here. Now you want to be able to slice this off, because we're going to need little rounds of butter, little pats of butter like you would get in a restaurant when they make them all fancy dancy. Okay. And we're just going to fold this over like this and make this into a cylinder-ish. And when you twist the end, like I am doing now, and I'm just going to push this down, and then twist this end, and you have a beautiful little butter cylinder. How pretty is that? And it's absolutely full of herbs. Look at how beautiful that is. Okay, now this goes in the fridge at least 3 or 4 hours, or you can put it in the freezer. It gets a little more crumbly if it's in the freezer. So you put it in the fridge for 3 or 4 hours, and when you bring it out, it is rock hard. So why do we want it rock hard? Well, we're going to use the same bowl that we just did our butter in, because there's no sense in wasting that little bit of butter. If we're putting it in the burger anyway, we might as well put it in the burger. Now I'm going to add 226 grams or half a pound of regular ground beef and 226 grams of extra lean ground beef. And why am I doing that? Because that is going to give us an 80-20 burger. Pardon me. And this 80-20 burger is exactly what we want to make a really juicy burger. If you make a burger and you use extra lean ground beef, you're going to have a really dry, hard burger. And I did not grind this myself, although I will tell you, I have ground it myself. It tastes much better when you grind it yourself. And we're not going to beat this up too terribly much. We just want this, like it falls apart. And you want this mixed together, but not beat up. The more you beat it up, the tougher it's going to get. And that's not what we want. And you will notice that this time I'm not adding any seasoning to this. And this time in particular, I am not adding any seasoning because I want the flavor of this compound butter to shine through. So we are going to season it a bit once we get it into a frying pan. Okay, that is pretty much mixed up enough. And so this is a full pound, or 454 grams of burger. And once you get this done, you need a scale, because you want 112 grams. We're going to get one of our plates back here. You want to split this in 4, or you can do it in half, I guess, if you want. Make sure you zero your scale. 109 grams. We'll put just a couple more grams on there. Whoops. There we go. There is one. Now I'm not pushing that together too hard just yet. I will in a bit. Get a little bit more cranky with it. Now this one, let's zero that again. Whoops. That one is about perfect. And we'll zero it one more time. This way we're measuring each one Okay, there we go. We have four burgery things, lumps. They are not burgers just yet, but they will be. Okay, now we are going to bring our cutting board back. And I don't mind that there's a little bit of chopped herb on here. That is not a problem. Now, here's what we are going to do. We're going to take one of these 112-ish gram, hi Del, pieces of burger. And we are going to unwrap our compound butter. This one, I absolutely promise you, has rosemary in it. Oh my. I was trying an experiment last night with this different wrap, and I think it's a good wrap, just not good for compound butter because it's ripping on me, but that's okay. That is all right. We got this figured out. Okay, now I am just going to, that one's a little bit weird shaped. So this is about 1/4 of an inch thick-ish, and we are just going to push this down in the middle of this lump of burger, and then we're going to close it up. Now, when you are shaping your burger, keep your thumb on the outside edge of the burger and work around like this. Keep turning it. And you can make it as thick or as thin as you like. I want this butter to stay in the middle. So I'm not going to make this terribly thin. So it very possibly is going to look more like a meatball when I'm done. But that is okay. Now, we are just going to get our frying pan heated up while we make a couple more burgers. Now you can use a no-stick frying pan or you can use a regular frying pan, whichever one works for you. You don't want it on high. If you're working on a grill outside, you want to make sure that you keep that turned down too. And don't work this more than you have to. You don't want your burger to be tough. So there's one. We'll take another one and we'll just flatten it out a little bit. Cut off another slice of butter and put that in the middle, and again we're going to start closing it up, and keep your thumb on the outside of the burger and keep working it around, and don't work it more than you have to because we don't want to make these tough. Okay, look at that. Beautiful. And there's no fillers in here. There's no binders. There's no breadcrumbs. There's no egg. There's nothing like that. Okay, and we've got number 3. Now, I do have a little more of this set aside, which is why I haven't been worried about touching this with my gloves that have meat on them, because I'm going to be making more of these burgers in a little bit. So push that in the center and start closing it up. And again, with the thumb on the outside. This is the best way. You know, if you've ever seen burgers on a grill and the outside edge is getting burnt because it's so thin, that is because they were not formed properly in the first place. Now, we have that beautiful lump of butter in the center, and we are just going to bump that up one more notch. And one last one. Push it down a wee bit and put this right in the middle. Having this in the middle and having it surrounded by burger is very important, because you don't want it on the outside edge, especially on the barbecue, because it's just going to melt and fall into the grill and end up being Smoky. Now, thumb on the outside again. And look at how perfectly formed those burgers are. And look at the herbs on the outside. Okay, now we have 4 beautiful, incredibly juicy burgers. And we're just going to take that off. Pardon me. And set it aside. Now, if you are using a non-stick pan, you're not going to have to worry about this quite as much. You're also probably not going to get quite as good a caramelization as you would in a stainless steel pan. But we want to make sure that this is hot enough. And we are also, even though we have all that butter in there, that's okay. We're going to add a couple of teaspoons of bacon fat, because you cannot have too much bacon in anything. So the bacon fat is going to give it some beautiful, beautiful flavor. And we are going to get out this little dude. Okay, now this is starting to smoke, and that's a good sign. We are just going to put 2 of these in here. Now, this is not something that I want to cook ahead of time. Pardon me. Because I want these, look at those sizzling in there, and we want about 4 minutes-ish. Now, if you are grinding your own meat, medium rare is where you want your burger. If you want to cook it to death, that's entirely up to you. A lot of people like them well done. Certainly, if you are ordering them in a restaurant, you are going to get it well done, because that is regulation. But listen to the sizzle of that. I don't know if you can hear it or not. This is going to be absolutely beautiful. And so we're going to get this out of the way. And the one last thing that we need is a plate to put this on. Now, if you want to top this with a fried egg, you can absolutely do that. I'm going to turn that down just one wee little bit. If you want to top that with a fried egg, that is absolutely fine. If you want to top it with cheese, that is absolutely fine. Okay, now I'm going to show you these. Now look at this. Already caramelized. Now I'm going to leave this one go a little bit longer, and we're just going to let that one fry up. Now when you do it like this, you may want to just sear the edges of this as well. But by the time it's done, and that was only about 2 minutes on that side, so it's not quite done, but I wanted to show you how much it's caramelizing. We'll leave this one go for another 2 minutes. You'll be able to watch. If you look at the side, you'll be able to tell how far through it's cooked. Now remember, as this is cooking, it is melting that compound butter inside, and it is making it absolutely juicy and delicious. So the burger that we use, because we mix both regular and extra lean, we have that 80-20 grind that we want for a really good juicy burger. And then to make it extra super juicy, we've added that compound butter in the middle. And it's hard for you to see, I know, but there is no butter leaking out of the burger. Oh. And we are not quite halfway done that. You can also, when you flip this over, oh, look at the crust on that. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit weird, but I gotta tell you, having a beautiful caramelized crust like that on a burger gets me very excited. And now that we're caramelizing the other side, pardon me, we're just going to let this, the minute you put a lid on it, you're creating some steam, and we don't want to boil this burger. We want that beautiful caramelized stuff on the other side as well, and this is cooking just absolutely beautifully. So it's had a minute or so, maybe not quite that long. So we're just going to put this on it, make sure that this is cooked as much as we want it, and then we are going to add a piece of cheddar cheese on either one. And I don't need that anymore. So once this has been in here for another minute or so, we're going to put this cheddar cheese on it and we're going to let it melt. And it is going to be absolutely beautiful. Now remember, when you're adding spices, you can add anything you want. Try not to add salt to your burger. It makes it a little bit tough. If you can just do just burger and put your seasoning on the outside. Now if you want to add some chili flakes, you can add it to the burger, or you can add it to the compound butter. TSL Organics taco seasoning or the Greek seasoning is delicious, but it does make it a little bit tougher. You can add guacamole seasoning, you can add garlic powder. Now this compound butter had 1 fresh clove of garlic, as well as the rosemary and, oh my heavens, I wish you guys could taste this. Okay, now you can see there's a little more liquid in here now, and that's because we were steaming it. Now I'm going to put 1 piece of cheese, just going to fold this over here, and we're going to set that back on there. And this is one of those days where if I'm going to eat breakfast, I don't need anything other than this. Now, if you want to make keto bread to put this on, put it on lettuce, you can put it on whatever you like. Add pickles, add a slice of tomato, whatever does it for you. And we just keep this lid on long enough that that cheese is melted, and then we're going to have something all melty and gooey and beautiful. And that lid might be on a little bit tighter than we wanted, but it's all good. Okay. Now we're just going to turn this off. And we are going to take this burger out of here. Now I want you to see what is inside this burger. We've got that beautiful cheddar cheese. Now when you're putting sliced cheese on your burger, please do not buy cheese slices. There is a huge difference between cheese slices, which is a processed food, and a cheese slice. You want it to be hard cheddar cheese. And this definitely is not quite cooked all the way through, but it is definitely rare, and the butter isn't quite melted. So we are going to set this one aside, and we're going to try this one because it was turned over longer. Now see, this is what happens when you're trying to rush the clock, and I wanted you to be able to see this. Oh, that one is better. That is more of a medium rare, and oh, look at that. You push on it, and those buttery juices just come out all over the place. And I did not even add salt and pepper to these when I put them in the pan. Oh my goodness. That is absolutely amazing. And you can see the butter coming out of this burger on the plate. You guys, you have no idea how delicious that is. Now do it 5 minutes on either side. You can make it a little bit thinner, a little bit thicker, whatever it is that works for you. But the big thing is make sure that you've got that 80-20. So add these up. And you know, if you use extra lean and regular, the average of that is 80%. So you definitely are going to want to make this, and use a meat thermometer to see if it's done, but use your meat thermometer on the very outside so you're not puncturing that butter spot. So that is where you want to be with a burger. And definitely, we're not going to waste that beautiful little bit of cheese that went down in the frying pan. We'll bring that up because that's going to be nice and crispy and yummy. So now, you know how to make some amazing burgers for friends and family using compound butter that you can use on everything, in everything. They will be absolutely amazed at your skill. And this is going to add so much flavor. It will just blow your mind. So thank you so much for joining me here today. I am always so grateful because this is one of my favorite parts of the week. I am also very grateful for this juicy burger. So please do your very best to be your best version of yourself this week, and reach out to someone that you haven't talked to for a while. It'll make your day even better, and it will make their day better as well. So have a wonderful week. I will see you here next Sunday, and we will be doing